Well, good morning to Pastor John and our brothers and sisters at the James River campus, and to you here at the Buford Road campus, and those of you joining us online. God is good, and all the time. Oh, if you've worshiped wherever you were today, would you give some praise to God and thanksgiving for the great leadership we've had on our campuses? Praise the Lord. Well, many of us, over 100, gathered Friday, whether in person or online, here at the Buford Road campus, and again Saturday morning for 2 sessions to be spent with Dr. Andy Wakefield, who is currently serving as the dean at Campbell University Divinity School. He has led us in our fall learning initiative here on the Gospel of Mark, and so for those of us who had the opportunity to spend those sessions with him over the weekend, we have been deeply and greatly blessed. And so as a part of wrapping that up today, we've asked him to come and share with us in worship. Many of you remember Andy was here several years ago when he did a conference on the Bible for us, but we welcome him back. Andy actually was a member of this church when he was in high school and during college, during I guess it was in the, what years was that, Andy?
75 to 80.
75, okay, late part of the 70s, and so we welcome him back with us. He was born in Chattanooga, Tennessee, but shortly left and became a missionary kid where his parents served in the Philippines for some 12 years before they moved back here to Richmond. But he attended Wake Forest University for his undergraduate degree and then Southern Baptist Theological Seminary in Louisville, Kentucky. It was on the first day of orientation that he met Olivia, who would become his partner, soulmate for life. They have 2 daughters, 1 granddaughter, and just recently they celebrated their 34th wedding anniversary, so we're tickled for him. But more than all of this, Andy Wakefield loves the Lord and is a wonderful communicator and has helped us see things in the Scriptures we have never seen before. So would you join me in welcoming Dr. Andy Wakefield? Andy, come and share, would you?
Well, it is a great pleasure to be back with you again. I enjoyed so much a few years ago when I was here and brought back wonderful memories of being here when I was a youth, and then, in and out as I came back to visit my parents while I was in college. So wonderful to be home again with you all. We have been talking about Mark the Storyteller this weekend, and you heard just the beginning and just the end of one of the stories that Mark tells in his gospel. Now, I have to say a personal word about this particular story. This is the story of the Gerasene demoniac. That's how it's sometimes described. But you'll remember that there's some pigs involved in this story. If you don't remember that, you're going to find out in just a minute that there's some pigs involved. Growing up as my children were growing up, as they were young, every night I would tell them a Bible story. I would, out of my memory as best I could, I would go through, we went from Genesis to Revelation, I don't know how many times, through the span of years growing up. And sometimes I just was not, I didn't have anything particular in mind to tell them, and I said, well, what do you want to hear? And inevitably, one of my daughters said, oh, Daddy, tell us the terrible of the pigs. Well, it's not actually a terrible, it's a story, it's a true story, but it is terrible in terms of what happened. Listen to this story that Mark tells. It is such a powerful and provocative story. It's a story about a man who is utterly out of control. He is a crazy man. He is someone who feels like he is bursting out of his own skin. Can you imagine feeling that way? Feeling like all day, every day, your skin is crawling with sensations and you don't know how to deal with it. He was constantly hurting himself, trying to do something to get rid of the pain. He would cut himself on stones, and he would probably cut himself on the briars and the thorns and anything else. Probably he was scratching his arms. I can just imagine him trying to get some way to get relief from this relentless feeling that is within him. He was screaming and crying and racing up and down the mountains mountains and running around the region, and people heard him all the time. The background noise, the screaming, the howling, the crying. I can just imagine that people probably had gotten to the point that they didn't even hear him anymore. Can't you imagine? He had been so long in this state, so long howling all night and all day long, that people in the town probably had just tuned him out. They heard the howl, they heard the horrible screeching laugh that had nothing funny about it, but it's just background noise. Probably there used to be people in that town who loved him, who cared for him, who tried to take care of him. They tried to keep him safe. They even tried to tie him down to try to keep him from hurting himself. They went so far as to put chains on his feet and on his hands, not because they wanted to punish him, but because they wanted to keep him from hurting himself. But this man, he was so crazy. He was so out of control. He was so bursting out of his own skin that he would burst the chains and he would burst the fetters and he would run loose and run screaming all through the mountains. It saddens me to think that there were people who used to care about him, but probably they've given up. They've probably given up. They've tried so many things. They've tried so many ways to try to help him, and there was nothing they could do. The only thing they could do was to drive him out of the town, drive him up into the mountains, make him sleep in the tombs. A crazy man, a possessed man. This is someone for whom it's not enough to speak about one demon that is tormenting him. It's not enough to talk about 2 demons or a dozen demons that are driving him insane. It must be 1,000 demons, a legion of demons that is at work in this man. He is someone who is completely out of control. And isn't it ironic that when Jesus and the disciples crossed over the Sea of Galilee, crossed over from the Jewish side over to the Gentile side, and they came and they pulled up on the shore with the boat, isn't it ironic that the very first person who came to meet Jesus was this man? Don't you know that the Chamber of Commerce was so glad that this man was the welcoming committee? Though they were probably used to it by now. They probably knew that that was what was going to happen, because that was what always happened. This man came charging down, charging up to Jesus, and you can just expect what's going to happen. You know what's going to happen next. This man is going to combat Jesus, is going to tackle Jesus, is going to scratch him and force him to flee, but that's not what happens. That's not what happens. He didn't assault Jesus. In fact, as we hear over and over again in Mark's gospel, it is this crazy man, this demon-possessed man, this man who couldn't even think straight. He is the one who recognized Jesus. He didn't just call him by name. He knew that Jesus was the Son of God. He recognized Jesus, and he knelt in front of Jesus and he began to beseech him. Now think of this. This is a man that no one has ever been able to control. No one has been able to bind this man. No one has ever been able to make this man sit still, but here he is. At the feet of Jesus. I can just see him there. I can see him quivering, wanting to run, wanting to escape, and yet, just looking in Jesus' eyes, he can't leave. He can only look there, he begins to plead. The demons within him begin to plead with Jesus. Please, they said. Please, the word in Greek is a strong word. They were beseeching him. They were pleading with him. They were begging with him. Please, please don't torment us. Please don't make us leave this region. Look, there's a herd of pigs over there. Let us go into those pigs. If you're going to send us out of this man, let us go into those pigs. The demons begged Jesus. And Jesus said, yes. Jesus said, yes, you may go. And you know what happened next. The demons left the man. They flooded into the pigs. The pigs exploded. Not literally, but it probably looked that way. They went berserk. All of that screaming, itching, crazy agony flooded into these poor pigs, and they just screamed and ran and thrashed and didn't know what to do. The only thing they could do to try to relieve this awful thing that has just come upon them is to run down the hill and into the sea and be drowned. And left behind are the pig herders. Can you imagine? Here you are out on an ordinary day doing one of the most interesting jobs possible in ancient Palestine. That was supposed to be a joke. You're watching pigs eat. It's been a long and boring day. It's been a long and boring week. It's been a long and boring year, because every day you come out here and you watch the pigs eat, and oh, it's so exciting. It's going to be another day like this, and suddenly the pigs go crazy and they come charging right at you and they run over you on their way down to the sea, and the pig herder goes screaming back to town saying, "The pigs, the pigs!" Now, you have to understand that pig herders were not high on the totem pole in the ancient world. These are not the elite of the town. These are the people that you want to give the dirty job to, and you stick them out in the desert with the boring job. These are probably people who don't have a lot to offer. And yet, when they come screaming into the town about this incredible thing that's happened to the pigs, and they began to yell and to tell about it, the people all say, "We got to go see this." And the townspeople begin to flood out, and they go to see what in the world has happened to the pigs. And they go and they see something, and they see something that terrifies them. And you might think that the thing that would terrify them would be to see the ground. I can only imagine the ground must have been churned up by the pigs as they went crazy, but that's not what terrified them. Or you might think it would be all the bodies of all these 2,000 pigs that are floating out there in the sea, dead. But that's not what terrified them. The thing that really terrified them is that when they got there, they saw the man. The crazy man, the one we've always known as the crazy man, the one who is demon possessed, the one who howls up and down. We know that man. We've always known that man, but here he is sitting quietly, rationally, sane. We have never seen this before. How could such a thing happen? The people are terrified. They're terrified that something incredible has happened. They don't know what it is. They don't know how it happened, but they know they don't want to have anything to do with this. And so they begin to beg Jesus. Once again, that word is used, that strong word. They begin to beg Jesus, please, they said, please, please, Jesus, please, please leave this place. Please just get in your boat and go away. Please don't ever come back here again. Please. They begged Jesus. And Jesus said, yes. Jesus said yes. The very next thing, Jesus begins to get back in the boat. Begins to get back in the boat. The disciples began to gather the oars and began to get ready to shove the boat off. They began to leave those shores. But here comes the man who had been demon possessed, the man who had been utterly out of control, the man who now, for the first time that he can remember, can actually think straight. This man comes running up and he grabs the boat and he holds on and he says, wait, please. And you guessed it, he begins to beg Jesus. He begins to beseech and to beg Jesus. Please, he said to Jesus, please, please let me go with you. Please let me follow you. Let me be your disciple. Let me learn from you. Let me stay with you always. Please, he begged Jesus. And Jesus said, no. Did you catch that? 3 different requests made of Jesus. The demons begged Jesus to allow them to go into the pigs, and Jesus said yes. And the townspeople begged Jesus to leave their town, go away, and Jesus said yes. And the man begged to stay with Jesus. And Jesus said no. What does it mean when God says no? What does it mean when God says no? You've heard it, haven't you? You've prayed. You've asked God for something. You have begged God. You have said please to God, and God has said no. What does it mean when God says no? Maybe you have wondered, as I have wondered, if it's something about me. Is it that I'm not worthy? Maybe there's too much sin in my life. Oh, I know that we're all sinners, but we're saved by faith and not by works. I know that as soon as I confess my sins, He forgives me, but still that doubt remains, and maybe it remains with you. Is it something I have done? Is that why God has told me no? Maybe there's something in my life I haven't confessed. Or maybe I'm not quite ready to turn everything over to God. There's something I'm holding back, or maybe there's some area of my life where I'm not in step with God's plan. Maybe I've strayed so far from God that even when I confess and receive forgiveness, I've got so far to go. I worry, I wonder, I doubt. Could this be why God says no? Because I'm not worthy? But wait just a minute. Who in Mark chapter 5 is worthy? Who of the people who asked Jesus something in Mark chapter 5 is worthy? Would you say the demons are worthy? Don't think so. What about the townspeople? I'm sure they thought they were worthy. But I don't think you and I think so. Surely, if anybody in Mark chapter 5 is worthy, surely the most worthy person in this whole story is the man who was demon possessed, and that's the one that Jesus tells no. Maybe it's not a matter of being worthy then. Maybe it's a matter of asking for the wrong thing. I have to confess to you that there are times when I ask God for the wrong thing, times when I know I have asked God for the wrong thing. I mean, there are times whenever any of us is in that moment when the person cuts in front of us in line in Walmart. We have one item. They have a basket that is overflowing with groceries and items and all kinds of stuff, and we are just about to step into place, and they step into line, and we say, "Oh God." This would be a time when an infestation of frogs would just be lovely. You know, I know God is not going to say yes to that. Don't you? I mean, I know whenever I ask God to make my life all glorious and wonderful and to take care of all the kinds of things. I know when I ask for things that are cheap grace, or when I ask God to help Duke beat Virginia. No, I won't go there. I know that that's not the right thing to ask. I know God's not going to say yes to that. But there are times when I've asked God for something, and it feels like it's a good thing. It feels like it's a good thing that I've asked God for, and still I have heard no. Have I just not understood? Maybe it's not really good after all. Maybe I haven't thought it all the way through. Maybe I'm asking for the wrong reasons. Maybe I'm asking for selfish reasons. Is that what's going on? Is that why God says no? But what about Mark 5? Who in Mark 5 asks for the right thing, asks for a good thing, asks from a good motive? When the demons asked Jesus to be sent into the pigs, were they being noble? No, they're trying to save themselves. Or when the townspeople asked Jesus to leave their city, they're just acting out of fear. Surely the man who comes and says, "Please let me stay with you," surely he's the one who's asking for the right thing. But he's the one that Jesus says no to. Could it be a matter of faith? Is it just that I don't have enough faith? Is that what it is, God? Is that why you tell me no? But you know where this is going to go, right? Mark chapter 5. Do the demons have faith? Well, they know who Jesus is, but they don't trust in him. They don't put their faith in him. The townspeople surely don't trust Jesus. The only person who shows any faith in Jesus at all is this man. He has every reason to show faith in Jesus. He's just experienced the power of Jesus. He knows who Jesus is. He's ready to follow Jesus. If anybody shows faith in this passage, it's got to be the man. And Jesus says no. Why? Why does Jesus say yes to the demons and yes to the townspeople, but no to the man? Maybe we ought to ask this question a little bit differently. Maybe instead of asking what it means when God says no, why did Jesus say no to the man? Maybe we ought to ask this question. Which of the requests in this story got the best answer? The demons got what they asked for. Right? They got what they asked for, and they were allowed to go into the pigs, and you know what happened to them. The townspeople got what they asked for. And Jesus never visited them again. Who got the best answer here? Friends, I don't know that I can explain at all for any one of us, for any given instance, whenever we have prayed and prayed and we've prayed for something and we cannot understand why God would say, no, God, this seems like a good thing. This seems like the right thing. God, I'm throwing myself on you in as much faith as I know how to give. God, I know that I'm imperfect and I'm flawed, but God, I'm praying for this and I don't understand why you say no. I can't explain it to you. I'm not God. I know sometimes growing up, my girls would ask me for something. And you know, sometimes when they asked me for something, I said yes, even though maybe it wasn't the best thing in the world. They said, could I have one more piece of candy? And I thought, you know, your dentist is going to love you, but go for it. I'm not sure yes was the best answer I gave them sometimes. Sometimes I said yes to them because it really didn't matter one way or the other, and it was fine if that's what they wanted to do, if that's what they wanted. It was okay. I could say yes to that. That was fine. But you know, there were times when I said no to my girls, and they thought I was the worst dad in the world. Do you know why I said no to them? Do you know what it means when I said no to my girls? It meant I loved them. I say it again, folks. I don't want to pretend this makes it all easy. When a loved one dies and we have prayed and cried and pleaded with God, and we don't understand why would God take this person from us. There's no easy answers here. I can't wave my hand and say, oh, don't worry, it's a great answer. We're not going to feel it any more than my girls ever thought I had anything other than meanness in mind whenever I told them no. But you know what? Even when their daddy was mean and said no to them, my girls trusted that I loved them. They trusted that I would take care of them. They trusted me. And so they accepted it, even with a little whine. Okay, maybe a lot of whining. What does it mean when God says no to you? It means with all the doubt and uncertainty and frustration and whining and anything else we need to do, we still say, God, I don't get it, but I trust Would you join me in a word of prayer? And God, there are no easy answers. This world is so confused and chaotic and broken, and sometimes it seems so crystal clear to me what exactly needs to be done and exactly how you need to step in and make all the difference. And God, I don't understand. I don't understand why you say no. But this one thing I will do. I will trust you. Because I know you love me. In the name of Jesus Christ, who came and gave his life because you love me. Amen.